Hey, and welcome back to Alex Talking. I am here from snowy Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I just saw Avatar Fire and Ash at the AMC Waterfront 22, and it was in IMAX and it was in 3D. So, how was the movie? Well, I think it's important to give context for how you feel about Avatar going into something like Avatar fucking 3. I thought the first one was mid when I was a kid. Saw it a few times with my dad, thought it was fine. Saw it again in IMAX before the second one came out. The world's tallest IMAX down in Savannah, Georgia, or Pooler, if you're into semantics. And honestly, I can't stand the first one just because of how dull and boring it is. It is just a real, like, fine, whatever. The CGI is very groundbreaking. Otherwise, this is nothing for me movie. The second one, however, completely won me over. From the first time I saw it, and I've seen it 4 times now, including as recently as yesterday, I rewatched it. I never would rewatch the first one in anticipation of an Avatar, but I rewatched this one. I say I never would. Obviously, I did for the second one. But yeah, you know what I mean. And yeah, The Way of the Water is easily just one of my favorite James Cameron movies in terms of sheer action. That one is the one that has way better action than the first one, way better world building, way more interesting world building. And I'm not one that gets bothered whenever a 3.5 hour long action movie takes a break to have the boy connect with the outcast whales. Because the thing that I give all this context, because the thing that is best able to be said about Avatar Fire and Ash is I think this very successfully and satisfyingly paid off all the stuff they've set up in these Avatar movies. And I can feel the bag getting too full with this movie. I can feel them doing the same things, and I can feel them still coming up with awesome new things. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I mean. A lot of it plays like just another episode of Avatar. And if at this point you're not on board, this is the definitive, this isn't going to get you on board. Because this is very, very, very similar to the second one, both in the way it looks, as in the higher frame rate video game type action, as well as the way that it is presented in terms of where the story takes place and the settings that the action is taking place in. That doesn't necessarily hurt the film because the water that they fight in is awesome, but it's the same water as the second one. You know what I mean? With how unique and different and completely revolutionary to me the second one was, I was hoping the third one would do a little more. But like the Fire and Ash people didn't have a unique place; they were just a unique people, and that was a little disappointing. The Fire and Ash people were awesome. The villain, who is opposite Quadrant, obviously the Stephen Lang Big Blue Avatar, she was great. She was absolutely fantastic, and him and her stole the show together. Stephen Lang is my favorite performer in these movies. He brings the heat every time, but it's almost comical how much he brings the heat playing an evil blue like alien trying to discover himself with the memories of a dead human. Like it is such a fun character to just say that out loud, and he sinks his teeth into it, and his interactions with Jake Sully in this one are great. I thought that was the highlight of the first half of the movie for sure, and like because when I say first half, I mean the first hour and a half. And I also thought the stuff with him and Spider was great. Spider is probably my favorite character in the Avatar movies. This is Spider's story. This is the kid's story. When they say this is the last Jake, Sully, and Neytiri story, I can't imagine it means the last story with the Sullys, but the last movie with maybe them as the focus, because the kids really take center stage in this one. And while the dialogue is sometimes really forced and video game cutscene between the teams, it also at times was extremely powerful. I think of the stuff with Sigourney Weaver's character and the like reflections that this movie holds up to faith, and the way Neytiri wrestles with her faith, the way Sigourney Weaver's child form wrestles with her identity and her faith. I thought that was all interesting, and I thought that the way they handled Spider's importance in this story was also extremely interesting and not at all what I expected from Avatar 2, but it made complete sense. And yeah, I just thought all that stuff with the kids were good. I'm obviously trying to avoid spoilers, so I'm talking very vaguely. But I just thought this was a very solid Avatar movie that was much better than the first and also much worse than the second. It's right in between at like a 3.5 out of 5. I would give this movie, which is not a bad rating at all. I'd put it on par with like the Mission Impossible movie that came out this year and The Running Man. Like it's in that tier of movies this year for me, which is solid. You know, that's a good tier of fun action movies, just not the best in their respective genre, you know, necessarily. But it was a very visually striking movie, and the creatures that they put in this one, from the underwater creatures, the whales, like the otter things, to the flying creatures, the Toruk Naktu, you know, all that stuff was just absolutely fucking awesome and awe-inspiring. I think it is interesting to think about the fact that James Cameron has never made it to 3 movies in a franchise before. I mean, if you think about it, he made 2 Terminators, so pause off. He made Aliens, and then didn't do Alien 3. He doesn't get to 3rd movies in a franchise. So the fact that I think that this is the most objectively flawed Avatar, even though it's much better than the first one is just so simple that it's not that flawed. It's just boring as shit, and I don't like it. But this one has so much crammed into it that you can just feel it overflowing at the seams. And there are moments where the action looks like it's stuttering, and there's moments where the action looks like a complete video game. And in a way, it's like I have to appreciate that this movie would be a complete piece of dog shit if James Cameron didn't make it. But also, do they need to be as long as they are? Because there are so many scenes in this in which you could just be like, that was a cool scene, but that didn't need to be in it. And I think that maybe that's why this will play better at home, because you won't be just sitting there watching a 3 hour and 15-minute movie in which, when I watched Way of the Water, I didn't get bored. So many people have told me they were bored, but I didn't get bored in the theater. This one, I really enjoyed. And there is stuff happening every second of this movie. So I was not bored, per se, so much as scenes would end and I would think, oh gosh, that didn't need to be in this movie. That'll never, ever mean anything. That was just a random scene, and it wasn't funny. Sometimes there were, like, scenes that seemed like they were maybe trying to be funny, but it also wasn't very funny. So it was just this weird thing where there would be scenes that would end with, like, a line of dialogue, and I was like, oh, none of that mattered. That's what I would have cut. Which is frustrating whenever you watch a movie and that's what you think. But it's like, this could have trimmed at least 40 minutes off. It's just the thing, it did not need to be that long. And I say this as someone who never complains about the length of movies, because if a good movie is 4.5 hours long, I'm going to watch all 4.5 hours and enjoy it. This is a solid movie, and that's why it's a bit of an issue that it's as long as it is. It's not great. It is just solid. It has great action, really good moments. Like, there are great emotional beats in this between Jake and his kids and people reckoning with their vengeance and their hatred and their prejudices, and all that stuff really hit. It's just times where it's like, did we need to have Jermaine Clement asking, am I muted, while on a face call with all the evil Giovanni Ribisi business people? Like, those are the times where I'm thinking, did this really need to be in this movie? I don't give a shit about them. I remember them, but I don't give a shit about them. So, yeah. That essentially is my spoiler-free take on Avatar Fire and Ash. 3.5 out of 5. Now, I'm going to get into some spoilers. Holy shit, that scene where Spider was about to get slimed out by Jake Sully was maybe the best in the entire franchise. Whenever he flew down, you can just, like, see this look on his face. And it's amazing because they're blue CGI people. And it's almost the definition of Uncanny Valley, like this video game action and the way they look, because it is so realistic. It's like, when you watch something like The Flash, it's like, well, that's just awful CGI. But this is like, that's CGI, but it is the best in the world. It just looks so, just slightly off. And this scene, because there's no action happening, it's just a human moment between 2 giant blue people and a little white kid, was extremely powerful and extremely well written. I think the writing is where this movie severely falls off. It is the worst written, probably James Cameron movie, to be honest. It just has really bad dialogue and really nonsensical story beats at times. But it's the type of thing where this scene comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, when Spider says, I just want to know, do you still love me? I was like, oh my gosh, Spider, you're such a good actor, Ghostface. Such a good actor as that little Spider. Do you know how fucking hard it is for him to play a little white boy with dreads who wants to be a blue person and paints himself blue? That would be the hardest role to ever play because how are you not just the most cringy part of these movies? And he has lines that are horrible. He has lines that are dreadfully bad. But this kid, he does great with it. And I'm sure he's like an adult now because they probably filmed this ages ago. And I mean, yeah, he's in Scream 6 and he's an adult. So yeah, I just want to shout out Spider, who is fucking awesome in these movies and the heart and soul of them all. That final shot of him going into Mother Awa and all the Avatar people accepting him, all the Na'vi holding hand, and then zooming out. That's why I really don't think they need to do another one. Nobody needs to die. No big stakes need to be. Well, like obviously there are big stakes. I just mean no stakes need to be created by like killing Neytiri or something, because that's what I thought they were going to do with this one. I don't think they need to do another Avatar. I mean that might be controversial, especially since I didn't think this was the best movie ever. But just because of all the flaws, and they're all the flaws that were also in Way of the Water and all the flaws that were in Avatar, I think it's kind of flawed. So I don't think they need to do another, but I did enjoy it. So that's my thoughts on Avatar Fire and Ash. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. God bless.